Welcome to week 9. You guys should be finishing up the final draft of your part 2 essay. Don't forget that part 1 and part 2 need to be together in the same essay, with part 2 clearly labeled, and also having at least a minimum of 5 resources. You could have more than 5 sources on your works cited page. Also making sure that you are following all the MLA guidelines from the page numbering all the way through to the works cited page. That includes your in-text citations as well. Use the Purdue OWL website and the examples that are there to help you in that part of the paper. Go back to the previous announcements. There's many announcements with many links that will help you. You can also go back to the various modules and relook at the information there as well. So let's move on to week 9. Here in week 9, you will be turning in your final draft of part 2. It is worth 100 points, so you really want to make sure that you have fine-tuned all the details. You take the comments that your peers have given you. You should have had 2 peers review your paper if they did their part. And I also made comments notating, hey, you need to make sure you're looking at all your formatting, make sure you're going back to part 2 to review that portion of the assignment, that you have everything there. You also want to look at the rubric. So here's the rubric. What are you being graded on? Again, this is worth quite a bit of points, and every final draft of the essay is 50% of your overall grade. So it's very important to follow the instructions here. I'm still having some students not following the instructions, and it does take you to make sure that you are reading all the way from the top to the bottom, plus this information, clicking on the links as you see them to help you. This is part of your learning, and if you want to do well, I strongly suggest that you follow those instructions. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to the announcements page under week 9, and myself or one of your peers will comment. So this week you are also looking at part 3. So this is the last part of the overall research argumentative synthesis essay, and you will, again, making sure that you're reading the instructions from all the way from the top all the way down to the bottom. And then it has the rubric here that you can look at as well. So you are going to combine all 3 parts, just like you did for parts 1 and 2, where you combine parts 1 and 2. This time you're going to add part 3. And you are going to have a subheading, just like you should have had for part 2, for part 3 as well. It would be best if you bolded the subheading, kind of like what they have here, so that it's very clearly labeled and doesn't get lost within the rest of the paper. This particular part is the argument part. So part 1 was introducing the argument, introducing the points of view. Part 2 was going more in depth in the various points of view, and also synthesizing those points of view, what they had in a different aspect and what they had that was similar. Now you are going to actually argue. What is your side? What is your point of view? What do you agree with and what do you disagree with? This part will be 800 words minimum. So it'll be roughly 3 to 4 pages in length for this particular portion. So your total paper is going to be anywhere from 9 to about 11 pages, maybe 12 pages, and that does include the works cited page with that. This is also the part that you will have a total of 6 sources or more. If you have more, great, but you do need a minimum of 6. So if you have 2 from part 1, 3 from part 2, then you need to find 1 more for part 3. If you already have 6 sources and you feel, hey, all right, I'm set to go. The sources that I've utilized, I'm able to formulate my argument and pull the information from those various sources to support my argument, then you don't really need to go research any more sources. However, if you don't have them, you do need to go back to one of the databases within the McCabe library, either Gale or JSTOR or EBSCOhost, and look up more information on for your research paper. Also, in part 3, again, you're taking a seat at the table. This is your debate. What is your viewpoint? And you need to make sure that you support your position. You support your position by the information from the other sources. And you also want to make sure that you are not arguing every single point that you pointed out in the part 2. You only want to pick maybe 3 or 4 points to argue so that you could go into depth. And it's also making sure that it's not an opinionated rant. That is not what we're looking for. We are looking for that you develop a clear, direct thesis, supporting it with clear, direct topic sentences and clear, direct logic. Making sure also you keep this in third-person point of view. You can still give your opinion by using third-person point of view. So you should not be using I, me, my, we, our, us. Those are all first person. You want to directly address the counter arguments that others may propose, and you are persuading the other person. So think of your audience. Who was your audience at the very beginning of this? And you're trying to persuade those people in your audience to your side. Remember, I am not your audience. I am your grader. So think about your audience in that aspect. So for example, somebody is writing on our workspaces, at-home workspaces. I believe it's, are they better than going into an office? So you would go and let's say it's maybe your boss saying, hey, it's a good idea to work from home rather than having everybody in the office. So maybe it's, CEOs of a company that you are trying to convince, okay? Also, make sure that you stay focused in part 3. Again, focusing on, here it says 1 or maybe 2 areas. I would say more like 2 or 3. Earlier I said 3 or 4 with 800 words. 3 or 4 might be too many. So 2 or 3 different areas so that you keep things very focused and narrowed and you don't go off on this tangent. That's very important to do. You can also look at this organization and like a 5-paragraph essay. There really should be more than 5 paragraphs in this essay, but in this portion of the essay, I should say. So you have a clear introduction with the thesis, then you go into the argument aspect, supporting it. Again, MLA formatting all throughout, even with the in-text citations. Reviewing the Purdue OWL website, looking at the example papers there, and then having a conclusion. And remember, on this conclusion, you're wrapping up the whole entire paper, essentially. Just like part 1, you're introducing the whole entire paper. So this assignment will be due in week 11, so you have a couple weeks before the final draft is due, but you will have various things that you need to do in the subsequent weeks. I also strongly encourage you to review the rubric. The next assignment is the discussion board. This is where you're going to be interacting in your groups. There are 2 parts to this assignment. Again, reading all instructions. So the first part is your initial post. You are going to briefly summarize the issue that you wrote about in part 2 of your essay. Okay, so this should be probably a good clunky paragraph or 2 about the summarizing your part 2 and briefly summarize your position. What is your position on this? So this will probably be the second paragraph of this particular summarization. And that way people can then go and comment. So you're going to post this by Wednesday, and then people will be commenting, which is the second part, response to the post. So this is actually the second part. Again, this will be due by Friday, but when you click here, it takes you back to the part 1. So your response post, this is what you're going to respond to in regards to your peers. You're going to let them know where there are some holes missing, maybe let them know the counter argument. If their argument isn't very strong, let them know how to think about their own position, for you to think more in depth about your own position and reasoning for your own paper. And this is also a great way to help you write your part 3 as well, because you're getting counter arguments from other people based upon what you presented for your argument. And so this is meant to help. These are meant to be enriching and in-depth posts, not 1 or 2 sentence posts. So it will be expected that you all are going into depth on these posts to help your peers and yourself to think deeper about the argument of your own paper. So once that is completed, you also have your annotated reading response, which is due by Wednesday at, it's 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is Pacific Standard Time here. You are to read one of these 2 articles. My suggestion is to read both. Figure out which one you like best. They are both articles that have an argumentative standpoint. This is, again, to help you on your part 3 of your essay. You will annotate both articles as we've done in the past and as you should be doing with the articles for your research. And on this one, as you read and annotate, you are going to be looking at the argument for the particular article that you're choosing to write a 250-word response on, again, in MLA format. And you're going to show that you read, understood, and intelligently considered that essay. It is not a summary. It's looking at it and evaluating this and analyzing the article for its argument and the argumentative aspects in the article. So again, this should be pretty beefy response, and again, following MLA format. All your assignments should follow MLA formatting. The next assignment is the research part 3. It's going over the instructions again for the research part 3. I will be posting in week 10 example papers of research part 3, but right now you're just researching. If you need to get that extra source, or if you need more information to help solidify your argument and back up your argument, it is okay to go over 6 sources. The minimum is 6. In most research papers, like what we are working on, there usually are more than 6. And the last thing you're going to be doing for this week is the quiz, Improving Your Style. Please make sure, again, that you're reading all instructions from top to bottom. You review the information here, and then take the quiz. It is open book, and you have 2 chances to take it, and about 120 minutes for each chance. So if you have any further questions, please let me know. Just to look ahead, you have week 10 essay outline, which will be due Monday, November 15th. And with that is the end of the review for week 9. I am looking forward to reading your final drafts of your paper and giving constructive feedback on that so that you can have it for part 3. I do have 10 days to read those papers, so please bear with me because it is a longer part of the essay and it will take me longer time than the first part did. So have a fabulous week 9.